We are live. Here we go.
Coming to you live is the Auto Hub Show, changing automotive one show at a time with Ian and Jeff. And here we go.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
If you run a service drive, you know these days first impressions matter. But when your advisors are tied up with inbound phone calls, they tend to neglect their other, more important duties. And did you know 75% of all service calls are frequently asked questions and routine requests? Still, the average dealer misses up to 30% of inbound calls, adding up to a ton of missed service opportunity and increased customer churn. 68% of callers actually go elsewhere if they can't get through, which means you could be losing $60,000 to $70,000 every month in service revenue simply from missing calls. So who will pick up? Introducing Brooke.
Hi there.
Your best service scheduling assistant. Brooke is the first intelligent digital voice assistant to answer, handle, and appoint all of your inbound service calls. And talking to Brooke is like talking to a friend with human-level understanding and a friendly conversational voice. Her conversational intelligence is built on millions of actual service industry conversations. Book with Brooke today. Visit Brooke.ai or call 866-942-1236. Finally, the perfect match.
Our goals are always to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is the longer it takes, the more money you spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great stage. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to the front line. The average days in recon and then the time to line are the most important things that we look for. I'm Mike Burrell. I'm Service Director at JM Lexus.
Larry Feldman is probably the most amazing trainer that I've ever experienced in this business. I've been in the car business now for 35 years, and I've seen quite a few trainers. A lot of them are pretty good. I mean, really, I get something out of all of them that I've seen, really. But Larry is in another class. I really mean that. His training is literally riveting. A little while back, I sat in on his first training that I ever sat in on. It was for new hires. I still remember. I'll never forget it. About 25 people in the room who'd never sold cars before. And after 2 hours, I raised my hand. Larry stopped what he's doing and said, yes. And I said, maybe we should take a break. And literally, I'll never forget it. All 25 people turned around, looked at me and went, well, okay. And he kept going for another 2 hours. Since then, I've seen a few other of his trainings. I've hired people out of his classes. All I can say is you got to give him a try.
Good morning and welcome. So we're going to go ahead with the slide deck here. So I picked a few books. One of them is by our good friend Brooke. And we also have one from Alexi, and then another one here, The Fix, from Michelle King. So go ahead with our disclaimer, Jeff.
Hello, everybody. Good morning. Thanks for joining us. As we have some very good people on today, we really don't have to worry about getting in trouble. Some of our guests get us in big trouble, so we need the disclaimer, but we will say that the views and opinions of that today are shared are those of our guests, not necessarily of the Auto Hub Show or Ian and Jeff. Ian.
Women in Automotive Year in Review Show is the title for the show today. If you missed the video this morning, it's an interesting video about showing up as your authentic self and not feeling you have to put on airs or become someone else, which I thought was really interesting, just because I think in a lot of cases, at least my opinion, is people seem to sometimes feel they have to be someone different. And I think that's a mistake. So I really liked that video. Hopefully you had a chance to watch it. If not, just send me an email, Ian and Jeff at Auto Show. Happy to send you a link. Also, just so in case you don't know, we're going to be at Larry's session live tomorrow in Vancouver. He's going to be teaching some people in the Canadian market. We'll see how much trouble he can get into, but it'll be interesting. And then next week, the last show of the year, we're going to do the holiday show. It will be an open format show, as we always do at the end of the year. So everyone's welcome. And of course, anyone on the show today is welcome with input, questions live or in the chat bar. So go ahead, Jeff.
Well, thank you very much. Well, I'm excited about this show because we have two of our favorite people that we have on the show here today. We did have a couple other ladies that were slated to attend. One was joining us from Australia and said, don't worry, 3 o'clock in the morning, I can join, no problem at all. And then I got kind of a weird text this morning, hey, don't think I'm going to make it, sorry. And we kind of know why, because Australia is like, it doesn't matter where you are, it's Party City, right? So we'll have her on next year. She's a terrific lady. And one person we're so excited to have aboard, Liam and Savvy, woke up with an allergic to something or other, and we wish you the best, Liam, because nobody wants to feel crappy, and we do miss you, but don't worry, we'll get you, we promise. But so today we have our guests who are very, very shy, very low key, and very demure, and I apologize for being crappy. I told them I said the show today was going to be the bald guys and the blonde ladies show. Because I want to be polite and respectful. I wouldn't say what I said before. Just it wasn't that bad, but some people might not like it. But first of all, our first guest in orders of tuning in is Brooke Furness, joining us from Chicago. And she is the founder, CEO of BZ Consultants, and a very well-known person to the, what do we call that? We can't call it the airwaves, but the virtual waves of the internet. Brooke, please say hi, introduce yourself. But I'm going to ask you to answer this question once you're finished. Is in 2022, women in auto achieved, finish off the sentence.
First off, thank you very much. Always a pleasure to be on the show. Thank you so much, very, very much. Yeah, so I am busy. I'm not busy. I'm Brooke, and I am, yeah, I'm going to need more caffeine in the drink over here, first and foremost. Yes, I'm Brooke Furness. I am the CEO and founder of BZ Consultants Group. And for those that don't know me, our company we're just there to help inspect what should be expected out of business partners and vendors and keep it simple. So let you guys get back to what you want to be doing, which is not sitting in another meeting. So, and then to follow up the question, I think women, man, we're rocking and rolling. I think that's the biggest thing is April and I had a great chance this year to work together on a lot of different projects. And I think just the biggest thing that I think that we try to do this year in particular is to come together more and more, because finding your voice is one thing, right? You got to find your voice, but then what do you do with it once you do that? And as I sat and interviewed a lot of different awesome, incredible women, it was, okay, I found my voice. Now what do I do with it in the industry? Okay, did you find your tribe? All these different things. So we can sit there and say these different things, but it's coming together and then moving the industry forward, because there's all these different things that can happen. And I don't want to say something that April's going to say, because there's all these different like checkpoints you can do. But at the end of the day, is what are you doing? Is you're finding your voice and then moving the industry forward.
Terrific. It's a very good point, and thank you so much. And next, last but not least today is April Simmons. And by the way, I'm starting a movement. We're going to do some crowdfunding to create the new Simmons Auto Group and have the horns out of that there, but just kidding. So April Simmons, the face, the smile, the public persona of Horn Auto Group from the greater Phoenix area, which took me a while to check on Google Maps, because you're all over the place, and I believe you're suburbs of Phoenix, but I know that people in Mesa and Yuma and Chandler, etc., go, no, Phoenix is our suburb. But please introduce yourself and please finish that sentence.
Yeah, so April Simmons with Horn Auto Group, and like you said, yeah, the Phoenix Metro, and then a lot of the outliers. So we go north, we go south, pretty much pretty much anywhere in Arizona, you can find a Horn Auto Group store. And this year has been no exception to being extremely busy. The one thing with women this year that I think, women in automotive, we are still a needle in a haystack, right? There's still very, very few women in regards to the whole big picture. But what I felt this year is when all the needles came together, you could find them in that haystack a lot easier. And so I think the visibility this year of women became greater, and it made it easier to start to recognize, yes, I am on the right path. Yes, I am doing the right things. We talk a lot about, imposter syndrome and those sort of things. And I think this year, just that coming together helped women kind of step out and feel more comfortable in their skin. And so I hope we continue that into this next year, and I'm excited about it.
Perfect. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very pleased to see Kathy Gilbert has joined us. Kathy is, and as long as it's okay with you, I'm going to ask you a question. I sent you a little message, Kathy, but I did it too quick to do that. Actually, I just see her picture there. So I'm glad to see Kathy's here, and I won't call on her because she hasn't appeared on screen yet. But Ian, next question, please.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, April. We had the opportunity to be in San Diego for Used Car Week last month, and the thing that was really interesting was there were awards for the top 40 in general, and then there were a number of awards for women in auto, and we were really, I guess it was kind of surprising to us that a lot of the call it general awards, people didn't show up for the award, but the women in auto were there at scale. So there virtually everybody who got an award from women in auto was there in person, whereas the other awards, I'm not sure if they were men and women or just people. Essentially, a lot of them didn't show up.
I have to say, large percentage. I was quite perturbed about that because if somebody gives you an honor, and that was 40 under 40. Yeah. And if someone, an organization is extending you an honor like this, and out of 40 people, there was about 15 to 16 people that showed. And I have to say, if it was 8 or 10, I understand. You can't get away from work. It's expensive or whatever. But, when some of these people on this list had names and jobs that were, how would I put it? They could afford to come. It bothered me that somebody spent the time. But the ladies that were there, who many of them were under 40, were there, like you said, at scale. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, so that was definitely something that was interesting, but more importantly, just the amount of talented women at that event was really, really good too. Anyway, what hurdles were overcome by women in auto during 2022? And let's start with Brooke on this.
Man, that's a big one. I know, April, you touched on, I feel like imposter syndrome was brought up. That was a massive, I won't even say a buzzword because it's not just a buzzword. Like, that is a big thing that we battle for sure. And while we battled that, and that was brought up a lot, that I think catapults even into more hurdles that we definitely had to jump through. And going back into the video that was shown at the very beginning here is, and especially, I only take this personally for me, is that, okay, what is real versus what is it that I'm supposed to be? And you all know me as I'm about as real as you can get. Even when some people probably say, Brooke, you probably shouldn't say that. There's a time where I can be politically correct, and there's times where I'm just like, honestly, this is bullshit. This is what needs to be said. And so going back to the very first comment, the video that was said, my first comment of just being real. So finding that, hey, this is what needs to be said. This is who you are. Because if you go off of what you're supposed to be, oh, this is what social media says what it's supposed to be. Oh, this is what the auto industry. No, cut through that. Be who you are, because the age-old saying of everyone else is taken, well, it's really true. So I feel like this year, whether it was all these other words that were out there of saying, no, just cut through that. This is who you are. Whether we go through all these different things, but the very first things that were said is that we all kind of came together and said, okay, no, let us help you. We can help you if we can all just come together and just say, hey, no, instead of the cutting everyone down, let's come together. And by doing that, you can shine through and find out who you truly are. And by you doing that, you're helping not just yourself, you're helping everyone. So I really felt like, not just for me, I felt with other people. And I saw this as I saw other people do this, that it's like their true self really was able to come through. And that was just, it was honestly a beautiful thing.
Thanks for that. April, what do you think?
Yeah, I think the hurdles are still going to be there next year and the year after that and the year after that. And, and honestly, the hurdles are there for guys too. And sometimes when we get into these conversations about women in automotive, I think that we have to remember that anybody coming new into automotive actually deals with a lot of the same hurdles. Because we have a certain way about ourselves. This is my 25th year in automotive. So now it's almost like I have the old school ways still in me, and new people are coming in. So when we start talking about women in automotive, we also start talking about inclusion, and then we forget sometimes that the guys coming in are just as important. And so that's one of the things I just want to say is we talk about these hurdles and we're going forward and we're talking about trying to be a better industry and help everybody out and give everyone who deserves a seat at the table, that everybody should have a voice. And for a long time, I didn't feel like I could actually share what I really thought or what I really felt. And then I was given a platform where people were like, April, you have this, you're good, you're great. And I finally worked for a company who said, yes, your opinion matters. Here's the seat, come sit at our table. And when you finally get that, I think that it's empowering, and I'm able to help so many more people now. But I think we got to remember the new guy who starts tomorrow or the new girl who starts tomorrow, their voice matters, and they shouldn't have to put in 25 years before we listen to them.
Very true. Jeff?
Amen. And that just kind of goes up in the chat here. Peter just kind of said the same thing of just that, that getting stuck in one spot is just that women, and one thing, this isn't just, it's women, but it's everyone too. It's just like, hey, I feel like I'm getting stuck in one spot. So where's that advancement happening? And is that happening more with women? Is it more happening with going back to inclusion? Is it happening? So don't get stuck in that spot and realize that, hey, if the person is talented, are you ensuring that that person is recognized? Because we all know that happens. Like, we all know what happens, that the person that is doing a good job isn't recognized and not advancing and not getting the promotion versus the person that's doing crap over here is being, oh, well, let's promote you to manager. What? But we all see it happening, right? So just making sure. So Peter, thank you for that. I think it was Peter. I cannot see my screen this far because I have horrible eyesight.
Peter.
Okay, thank you.
We appreciate Peter's input. It's always very, very deep and knowledgeable, and it's quite true. We always refer to the conferences we go to, and when we were at Used Car Week in Toronto in June, a lady named Laura Zanchin spoke, and Zanchin Auto Group in Canada has about 25 stores. They recently bought a bunch of Mercedes stores from Mercedes-Benz Canada, and she spoke, and she is the CEO. Her and her sister are co-senior executives with their father, who's the founder, being the I don't know if he's executive chairman now or whatever, but the fact is it's an anomaly. A lady coming up who runs dealerships, even a dealership is still an anomaly. Yet when she spoke, she didn't say, we're empowering women. We're, as women, doing this. She was saying, hey, we are people running this store. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you had a man speak, he'd say, we're empowering women and stuff like that. And it's still definitely an issue. And the one thing that I notice at these shows is the women at the dealership level, at the end user level, is a huge minority. Like, it's when you go to a show, literally at these shows, by my amateur thing, I'm not a statistician, nobody get mad at me. It's pretty split 50-50 men and women at all the shows. But most of the women are in the support levels. They're in the aftermarket, they're in the software industry and the dealer support industry and everything. And when you see the people walking through, and it's really quite fun to watching this, because sometimes you'll see entourages and you're kind of looking to see, hey, was that Kim Kardashian that walked by? And it's usually a man with an entourage. Most women just walk with themselves and look and say, I don't care. But tell me, do you think, and April's sitting there smiling, I see that smile all the way through here, the thousands of miles. When do you think women in automotive, and I'm going to use the retail term, because the other end is probably, if we look at it, probably tilted the other way. But when do you think women in automotive at the dealership level of having some say and impact other than the obvious one will stop being an anomaly and start being normal? And we don't have to have this conversation of women in auto. I know it's going to be a long time before we don't have this conversation. When do you think the anomaly part will kind of go away a little bit?
You know, I honestly think this next couple of years will be big, because I think anytime we have these times in history where we have a balance, and this next year with the recession here and us in that full situation, what starts to happen is change is forced. And so when we have to start hiring people that, because we're desperate, right? We need humans to come in and work. We start to have to accommodate people in a way that maybe we haven't before, and it kind of forces us forward a little bit. And so I think these next couple of years we'll start to see a little bit of that, because I challenge my managers all the time. I challenge my general managers to say, look, you need to treat people the way you wish you were treated and not necessarily the way that you were. And the problem with managers in the dealership level, to Brooke's point that she made earlier, we just promote people who did a good job selling cars. And they're not always the best manager. We don't train them to be a manager. We don't train them to be a leader. And so when somebody comes in and they can be fantastic, but they ask to leave early, we downgrade that and downplay that so much. They might give 150% while they're there, while their counterpart gives 30%, yet we still reward the 30% person because they went and got us coffee, you know, like that kind of thing. And that is what has to go away. But it's because we manage the way we were managed. And so just like anything else, we parent the way we were parented. You have to break that cycle, break that chain. And the only way to do that is to start to be the change yourself. And the only way you can be the change yourself is to say, what did I not like about the way I was managed? What did I not like about the way I was treated as I was coming up? And not think that it's your right now to roll that downhill and say, I'm not going to be that person. And so I think these next couple of years, there will be a lot of that just from the sheer need to change and the need to adapt. So it's an exciting time, but I still think we are probably, a generation or two before we see the balance within the dealership side. And that's just being honest.
Well, at that, if we're talking 2 generations, I think at that time it'll almost be all AI. And of course, we all know the vast majority of AI platforms, the voices there are female because it's automatically more trust.
Yep.
And one of our sponsors is Brooke AI that does the fixed ops, and they answer the phone and they're very calm. You don't want that artificial voice to go like, thanks for calling the Hornado Group. So hang on a minute, man. I'll get your appointment, bro. Yeah.
That's too funny.
Well, you mentioned that thing about the promotion thing and the fact that, all right, who's my friend here? Oh, you sold some cars. Come on, you're a manager. And they do the same things with managers that they did with sales, a lot of places with salespeople, which is they come in, congratulations, sit down, watch a video for an hour. Here's a stock list. And here's a bunch of things. Go sit down and learn about the cars and go sell. Same thing with the manager. And the manager comes back and the first thing they do when they get a deal is they yell at somebody.
Yep.
But Brooke, your opinion on the topic? Because I think you're going to disagree with April. I think you're going to be March 15th of 2023.
And you would be wrong.
Before my birthday.
And a week after mine. So woohoo. No, yeah, I sadly, I will have to not disagree. I don't know if I can't say there's going to be a timetable on it. What I can say is that it's just going to take all of us. I honestly don't know what fixed ops roundtable was. It was one of them. And this discussion came up about how can we further this conversation? How can we better this? All inclusive about this topic. And I honestly cannot remember who it was. And I apologize. I'm on a lot of these, so I can't remember who it was, but the individual at hand, we were just talking and we were saying how it can't just be us females that do this. And huge shout out to Gail Rubinstein who does this, because her whole company, female, which it's great that us females are doing it, but it's going to take more than just us. It's got to be the male counterpart saying at the top level, we are going to hire females as well. And so once again, I'm gonna have now. After this, I'm going to message both of you and say like, okay, here's who it is, and go here's the video on it. But he was just saying, okay, here's how we do it, and I can tell you, my husband, who ran a dealership for 30 years and had been in the business forever, his first thing was, how many female sales consultants can I have? Because I know they are going to sell more cars than any other male counterparts. And it's not that their male counterparts didn't do their job. It was just when someone came in, they go, I want to work with her because I can trust her more. Automatically, that's in their mind. So as I'm on this discussion, and we just said, hey, he's talking about all this. He goes, oh, I make sure automatically. And even on the service and the fixed op side, same thing. They're like, how can we go about doing this? But then we talked about, okay, on the flip side, how is the female? How does that hurt you? And they're just saying, we know also that when someone comes in, they're like, oh, I want to work with a guy. And we're like, oh, okay. So then how does management then work with that and say like, oh no, she's way more qualified than I am. And so it's not just hiring. It's then how do you take that process all the way down and understand it's not just, it's all encompassing. So it's a really cool conversation to have that. But I go back to say, I don't know if you can necessarily put a timetable on it, because it's going to come down to how when is it implemented, how quickly is it implemented, and then how is the process of the team mentality when it's implemented, and not just, we got to hire it because we got to fill a quota to have so many people that look like this, that smell like this, then just don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Look like this and smell like this. I think we're crossing a boundary of women and men here.
Well, I don't know. I've smelled some people that probably shouldn't be working at all. So I don't know.
Well, here in Arizona in the summer, it can get a little rancid, and so I used to be the one that had no problem being honest about it. I would have gum, I would have mints, and I would carry Axe spray in my drawers. And if they came up for a pencil and I was like, ooh, I wouldn't have wanted to been on that test drive with you. Come here. And I'm like, I have no shame. I'm like, so we're hosing you down, friend.
TikTok, here you go. Enjoy.
Yeah.
It's just like if somebody ran across the street to the certain type of ethnic restaurant and there was a little bit of garlic on it, and it's like you come up with a giant pack from Costco of breath mints.
Yeah.
Actually, Peter made another comment. He had a GM once showed him an incredible career path model for people within their dealer. It was about showing their staff on how to keep their career goals and achievements aligned with promotion. And women were way better at this than men, less immaturity. And it's very true. My challenge running dealerships was always one thing and one thing only. And it was finding women that were prepared to work in automotive and not, because it's something that can be for women, not intimidating, but foreign. It's like a man going and selling shoes. And I don't mean to be snide.
Whoa. Shoes? Come on. You want to talk shoes? Let's do this right now.
I purposely said that, Brooke.
The one thing she actually knows more than automotive, which is, her automotive knowledge is top of the top 1% of 1%, but her shoe knowledge is probably even better. So.
It is way up. And of course, Brooke, I'm sure every time somebody learns about your shoe fetish and discovers the shoes, they always get taken aback. And by the way, I do hope you remember my comment I sent to you about reaching out to Don Brady for his new style of shoes, which are Air Jordans. Did you see his light up shoes at Used Car Week?
Yeah.
I did see those. Real quickly, Peter, on your comment there. So I have actually worked with a couple of dealerships where in the service department that's actually up there. I think Beaver Toyota does this as well. They have it actually shown every step in order to do this. And April, I think you guys do this as well. That every step of the way is marked out. Okay, if you want to be a service tech, this is where you got to do. Go to here, you got to go here. So it's literally mapped out. So there's no ambiguous. Hey, I don't even know what to do to be a service manager. I don't know what to be. How do I advance from being a porter to go to here? Like literally everything is mapped out. So once again, it doesn't matter where you are or whatever, it's all mapped out. There's nothing. Like, exactly what you got to do. So thank you for bringing that up.
Great point.
Brooke, in that actual, I hate jumping on the ladies show, but I just was at the Empowering Auto Conference in Toronto. It was absolutely fantastic. It showed a lot of challenges in the marketplace and the industry as a whole. But it really, a lot of it's a fear-based challenge in a lot of time where women want a job in it because they see how great the industry is. They see the income capabilities. They see the benefits. It's just, in my estimation, it's one of the greatest industries in the world. Employs 1 in 3 people throughout the world. So yes, there's a lot of opportunity. But the fear is, if I come on, where am I going to be in 5 years?
Mhm.
And one of the things at this conference was sticky floor syndrome, because they felt that the pathway to that event was going to be challenged, and they were going to be restricted, where it meant we're going to sail through it with no friction. And it was alleviating that issue. And with the mapping, it allowed a definitive process by saying, hey, you've achieved this, so you are in line for this promotion. And it was a phenomenal opportunity, and I think it should be had by every dealership out there.
I think that maybe one thing that they did they cover the, hey, you're my buddy, and so you've got a fast track?
That's in every dealership.
Exactly.
Unfortunately, that nepotism. So
No comment. Ian, next question.
Yeah, women are historically truly more positive people than men. As an automotive professional, please share with us your thoughts on the most positive change in automotive in 2022. Let's start with April.
That's a great question. I think just the conversations alone have brought, positivity breeds positivity, negativity breeds negativity. And this year, there's just been a lot more positive conversations out there. I think even when we talk about something negative, it's only to say, how can we make it positive? And I think that's been one of the best catalysts of moving the whole industry forward, is just the sheer positivity of everybody coming in and coming together. So that part's been great. One thing, just to kind of piggyback what Peter was talking about, though, I've been really passionate over the last couple of years about empowering people, women or male, at the ground level, to be able to be empowered to learn their job, regardless of whether they have a good manager or not. Because unfortunately, if you have a bad manager, that unfortunately dictates whether you stay in automotive or you are able to progress to that next level. And that just shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't be because it's your buddy. It shouldn't be because you're male or female. It should be because you actually put in the work and you are able to learn the job, and therefore you're ready to move forward. And the only way we can do that is to go all the way to the ground floor and actually empower people to do their job. I have some managers who just love them to pieces, but they're not going to train these people. So whose responsibility is it? Are we blocking a lot of great potential because we don't let them get out of the gate? We don't let them get out of that first spot. And once somebody leaves, if they're brand new and they come into automotive and they have a bad experience, are they going to try again? Are they going to go to the next dealership and the next dealership and the next dealership? So I think where we lose people is realistically in that first 14 days. We need to make an impact in the first 14 days of people who decide to try automotive, and that's where we can make a difference.
Okay. Brooke?
I was gonna say ditto, but I'm gonna find a different way to go around that one here. So, but yeah, I agree with the positivity portion of that. It breeds positivity. As I have found this year myself, is that you're constantly trying to find. You don't want to be around negative people because it just brings you down, and you want to surround yourself with positive people. And I find, okay, for instance, a couple weeks ago, I'm in a situation where I'm constantly battling a certain company, and I'm just like, man, why? I don't understand. I was like, Brooke, you got to change it. I'm a very upbeat person, as you all know, very upbeat, positive, always trying to find the good in everything, positive in everything. And I just constantly was like, okay, we're all coming together. Why can't this one company, why do you just got to be the thorn that just, why? And I was like, okay, take this a different way. Like everybody else has come to the table. This company doesn't want to come to the table. Take a different way. Maybe instead, you always preach empathy, Brooke, and that obviously is a massive buzzword as well, but that's something I truly believe in, which I believe. Maybe instead turn your mindset to think, This company, unfortunately, has taken the view standpoint that they're not going to train their employees to do this. So maybe take a different mindset and say, hey, what can we do to better understand each other? And once I did that and changed my mindset to a more, instead of like, oh, I'm going to attack this company. Once I changed my mindset, then it was like, okay, now they're not going to change their ways. I'm not going to take down this company. I'm not going to do that. But once I changed my mindset, it was like, okay, well, maybe we can work together and I can understand you better. Once I was able to do that and change that, they were able to communicate with me a little bit better, or I was able to communicate with them better. Even though, so I was kind of rambling for a little bit, but what I'm trying to say is that when we all come together, and even if someone doesn't want to play ball, you can't change them. But maybe if you can see it from their standpoint and from their viewpoint, that sometimes it's not their fault. It's not that they don't want to. It's just the higher ups may have they don't have control of it. So all of us come together, all this positivity, and sometimes it's just we're seeing things through our viewpoint only and not theirs. So yes, we've done a lot of good great things this year, and all this positivity has been awesome. I've seen, for instance, with the GA4 Council, was just, you had 80 plus companies come together, which is just talk about positivity, man. I've never in all my years in automotive, never seen this ever happen. Like, that was out of control. And that was so cool. And I can just hope it continues to go forth that way. And so when you have one company that just says, you're going against something, you've got to change your mindset with that and understand that, okay, what are you missing here? And take a step back to see, okay, what can I do, what are something I can control? Because if you can't control them, what can you control to continue that positivity motion? Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting a comment you made, because I noticed you're wearing the blue and yellow wristbands, and of course we know what that color pertains to in the world today is Ukraine, and that whole situation actually is a perfect thing to look at. You have the behemoth, which in this particular case is just represented by Russia, and you got the little tiny country of Ukraine, which everybody thought they were toast. And if we look at the world, we look at the big dealer group, the very large, powerful dealer principal, the manufacturer, the whatever that's going to walk all over somebody. And when you're up against a determined foe, you can't win.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's very true. And this is, probably definitely representative of women. And I won't kid you, I actually hate this topic because it should never exist. And, being an old guy, and I saw the old thing when, loved the term girl in the back, which was the only variable ops female person was the business manager. And, it shouldn't exist, because boy, oh boy, I said, the best salespeople I ever had were ladies. They were the people that could look, and my wife, as an example, was an incredible life insurance salesperson. And I could never slam my hand on the table and say to somebody, enough is enough. Are we doing something or not? Because this big guy, and unfortunately I've been hair challenged for a long time, this big bald guy, going to end up with somebody going to the GM saying this guy's a rude son of a gun. And a lady can say to somebody, not necessarily the hand on the table, whoa, let's get this done or not. If you're not, it's okay. And most people go, okay, let's do it. Let's stop the silliness. So one of my favorite questions, and I'll call it a bonus question, it isn't, but one of my favorite questions I ask anybody, and I always just leave the back half. If you're going to recommend one thing for the coming year in 2023, one thing to make, my original question said better for women in auto, but I don't like that. I changed my mind. If you could recommend one thing for 2023 for women involved in automotive, and being this fact we're still dealer centric, because again, I think women are taking over the other end, what would that one thing be? And April, you're staring at your screen there, so I'm going to let you.
It's such a tough question, because some of my stores are already really leading the charge and doing a great job. They're putting women in roles that, quite frankly, normally would have taken them a lot longer to get there. But because of some of the things you just said, it's honestly easier for a woman, as long as you don't get in her way, to be in automotive. It's easier to sell cars. It's easier to manage. It's easier to be a service advisor. I have a store that has all women sales service advisors, because the manager's like, it just makes my life easier. they're less combative, or they appear to be less combative. To your point, you know, a funny story, I was filling in as GM at one of our stores a couple years ago. And, you know, the GM gets to deal with all the heat, and something I've always prided myself in is that I'm good at dealing with heat because I don't run from it. It's so funny. Some of these big burly GM guys, they will literally, I've seen them hide under their desk from heat. It's the most ridiculous thing. I'm like, no, you just got to deal with it. So I get a call from the receptionist, hey, you've got an upset customer up here, no problem. I go bouncing up there, I'm like, hi, you know, I'm April, I'm here to help you. And he looks at me, he's like, you're the GM? And I said, yeah. He goes, he looks at his wife, he goes, how am I supposed to yell at that? And so it was just that moment where I realized that, yes, there is an advantage of being a woman in automotive if we can just don't get in their way. Just get out of their way. I think that's the biggest thing, is don't automatically count them out, and don't, every time they make a decision you don't agree with, instantly go, get rid of this person. So you've got to find a way to make sure that they have an outlet. So if I have a store that has a lot of women in it, then they have kind of a tribe, right? But if I have a store that I have one woman in an entire department or an entire section, I make sure they know who I am. I make sure they have my cell phone number, because I want to make sure that they have an outlet to vent to for all the things that are going to happen, because there are still a lot of that stuff. Men don't like to be beat by women. There's a core thing. So because women are the best at it, they tend to skyrocket up, and guys don't like that. So they will start to try to get rid of the women, not because she's a woman, but because she's a woman who's kicking his butt. That's really what ultimately happens. So we've got to find a way that they get that outlet to get the help that they need, so that they can, you know, keep their wings a-soaring.
That's very true. And, you know, as a man, one thing, when you supervise a woman, it's different, because when you want to be that typical guy saying, hey, you do it this way, you're out the door, they're going to go, oh, really? Huh? Okay, just kidding. I'm sorry, you know. And like you said, that guy that says, you know, how am I going to yell at this person? It's very funny. It's also has to do, I remember I had a sales manager for years, and great guy, but a very short guy, 5'5", 5'6". And he was great at handling heat, just because he was small, and he knew that he wasn't going to win physically, he had to win mentally.
Mm-hmm.
And of course that carries over there. Now, if he'd have been a very short woman, oh my gosh, he would have been probably taken over the world. But Brooke, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, anytime I'm asked about, you know, if a woman's, you know, looking to get in the industry, or what can, you know, I always go to, obviously the name of my show is Facts Not Feelings. And it's not just because of the name of the show. It's really, when I look at any type of a female, I always just say, you got to stick with the facts, man. You really have got to stick with the facts. The minute you bring, especially into our industry, the minute you start bringing feelings into it, you almost about to, for me, I've got to check the feelings at the door. And I'm not really a big feelings person per se. I'm very analytical. The reason for that, because our industry is what it is, if you start getting a lot of feelings into it, you're going to get eaten alive. So really stick with the facts of what's going on. And with that, when you know something to be true, you're using the data to back that up. I mean, use your gut, which will then turn to be true. I get that, but use your voice to then say, hey, this is what's going on, or hey, that's not right. And by having that data, speak up. And when you're doing that, you're staying true to yourself. So all of these things are little things that add on top of each other, but make such a big difference and will catapult you. Now, believe me, I've been in the position where I have spoken up and said, hey, or I have a question, and I was not only ridiculed for it, and then maybe it cost me my job. Now that also then said, hey, well, that's not a company with whom you want to be associated. So what does that do? That puts you on a path somewhere else. That doesn't mean that you shrivel up and then, oh, I don't want to be in the industry anymore. No, that means you are in a crappy situation in a crappy company that you shouldn't even be a part of it. So once again, don't just, like go back to like shrivel up and die because of it. No, understand, get that courage back up inside of you. Go back to, hey, I know what I did was right. I have all the backing to know I did it right. Find your freaking voice. And you guys know how much I love you to understand how much I'm not cursing right now because I'm so adamant about this, is to say you've got all that in you right now to know, hey, I can go do this instead. And I can be with either on my own and have a company to find my voice once more and to share this with other people, or go with a company like April is right now with Horn Automotive that says, hey, we'll champion the fact because you have all this right now and all the good you can be doing this and all the people you can be helping or so on and so forth. But I just go back to if someone was to go back and say, hey, I feel this way and I have all this stuff and I'm going to talk about it. Well, great. Well, where's the data to back this? If you don't have it, well, then you're going to be in trouble. So have the data to back it, check your feelings at the door, and then find your voice and do some damn good with it.
Well, it's interesting as you're talking, and I found myself thinking of something to say, which is very interesting. Here's something interesting in the automotive industry. The one fact that everybody in the dealership levels understands that women make anywhere between 80 and 98% of the vehicle purchase decisions. Mm-hmm. And I can think back to managers and dealers, guys, that sit there and say they'll talk to the man, but when the guy says okay with the woman sitting there, they look at the woman, not the man. They look at the woman for the approval. Yet I also I have to say, I've encountered way more times that a woman has made the decision with the man sitting beside her without the man even making a peep than the other way around. So it's funny how we do the silly things that we do when we know and we're conditioned. We as men are conditioned. I automatically look to whatever side my wife's on if I'm doing the talking and look at her for her approval, or she'll just take over. So those are really great comments, and yeah, I just love the things you guys say. Ian, anything further?
So we have parting comments. Obviously, we're a little bit tight on time. When you look at sort of the future, when you look at sort of the past, any words of advice or words of wisdom or parting comments for the women in auto who are trying to get in the industry or trying to move forward in the industry. Let's start with April.
One of the things, and honestly, you guys just kind of reminded me of this when you talk about who your customer is. I think women really need to actually, even as much as men, understand who their customer is. And this may go a little bit against the grain, but I find women in automotive can sometimes be the worst to other women in automotive. And women salespeople, when going to sell a woman, you have to recognize that the woman is the one making the decision, and that's the person that you need to sell. And so one of the hardest conversations I have to have with women a lot of time is the appearance and what they actually go out there to sell. And so, without going too into depth, I think women, you need to recognize that you are there to sell another woman. And if you really want to sell more and champion more, you need to be supportive of that, whether you're selling, and I said this a lot, actually, we need to treat employees the way we expect our employees to treat our customers. And if we all just did that, we would all do a whole lot better and make things a whole lot more. And so whether you're male or female, when you're going out there to sell something, just think about how you want to be treated, how you would want to be sold, and you project that. But I don't know, it's something that I've been shocked to see a lot more of is women coming in with there's just certain things you shouldn't wear to work. And I hate to kind of go to that spot, but I just think there's, trying to sell a car because you're flirting with somebody when women are the ones making the decision. You're not going to sell a car if you're flirting with her husband. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. So women, take heed. Sell on your facts and not your other attributes or whatever you want to say.
It's interesting you say that, though, because the same way we accuse male representatives of talking to the man, I'm taking this, you're finding women are talking to the man, and I'm not touching that thing you did because no, I'm not going there. But I worked in the Harley world for a while, and that's completely different than that because there's almost a competition on who can look more inappropriate.
Mm-hmm.
And that might be the best way to describe it because the guys will try to look super guy, super tough, and most of them, their bikes are called fluffy. And the ladies in it are going to try and look super biker chick.
Yep.
And sometimes I had to go to staff and say, could you do me a favor and just wear your shop shirt and button it up? And, so I see that point. It's very good. Brooke.
I want to take a spin off of hers a little bit when she said inclusion, but growing up, most of my friends were guys. Shocker. I'm sure that no one could guess that one based on who I am, but all my friends were guys. It was just easier for me to get along with guys. The older I got, I was like, okay, now I've got a lot more girlfriends and But in order to do that, you've got to find, going back to what April said, is your tribe. You've got to be able to find those women that are going to champion you. And when you succeed, they are going to be like, dude, that's freaking awesome. Good for you. And that's not just to your face. That's going to be behind closed doors as well. And whether you're starting out or you're the CEO of a company, they're going to be like, dude, keep rocking it. And that is so important is when we continue to do that. And as males as well, but I got to be very clear is that when you say, hey, starting out, I talked to something earlier that, hey, do all those things as well. I say as women in general, we've got to, Laurie Halter did a great quote a couple weeks ago about just, hey, make sure that you're constantly reaching out to your friends and especially your friends and saying, hey, I love you. You're doing a great job. And it doesn't matter if they're having a bad day or good day, that you're not sitting there and being like, dude, they just lost a job. They just lost their client. And you're like excited about that. No, you should be so excited when your counterpart, your friends they have a sale, they do a good job, they closed on this. Like why all of a sudden in our mind, and this just goes for everyone, I guess, but are we reveling in the fact that they had some hardship? Like, no, continue to, help people and buoy them up. Like, it's so important we do that. I feel like too often is that I see a society is that we go the exact opposite. And it's like, no, do good and be happy for someone when they have a good time and just check in and love them and regardless and just be there for them and find, it's so important to find that tribe, man, and make sure that they're true, that behind their back, behind closed doors, that they're the same as when they're talking to your face.
That's what a phenomenal point, because too often in this industry, maybe in the world, we close the doors and our true self comes out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh, that's just some great stuff. I'm going to turn it even to close it, but I've got to tell you, April and Brooke, personally, I look forward to the day when I can meet you in person, because I really feel a kinship with you, and I really enjoy talking to you. And, I have no doubt in everything I've heard from people that have met you, except for Larry.
Can't believe anything he says. Come on.
Well, you know what, though, Larry, I got to tell you something. He can be a handful, but he's an amazing human being. And he is so full of positivity and spit and vinegar. And we're so excited to be having him up here in the great Green North, because Vancouver only gets snow very occasionally. And we'll see him tomorrow. And I'll let Ian to talk more about it. But we'll be live on LinkedIn, streaming a little bit of his antics. And I'm looking forward to Larry Feldman standing on a table in front of all these people that really aren't used to something like that. And we in Canada hate importing American stuff. We really do, because we like to say we're the home, in our national anthem, the strong and free. And but what the heck, Larry, you can come up here. But personally, Brooke and April, directly, it'll be the last time I'll probably talk to you directly this year. Have a great Christmas. Have a great New Year. I appreciate your support of us, because it's highly appreciated, and hopefully we'll see you down in NADA.
Yes,
Ian.
can't wait to see you.
Thanks very much. We will be obviously at NADA in Texas, and Larry's, we're going to be doing some broadcasting tomorrow here from Vancouver. And of course, check out the show next week, which will be the last show of the year. It's a free-for-all show where we talk about the holidays, whichever holiday you celebrate. And thanks very much for all the input today. Really appreciate it. And have yourself a great week. We're out.
Appreciate you all.
Bye.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Peace
Bye.
out. Oh, God.
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.